KOC, you're not surprised the Lakers did nothing?
No, not surprised. Not many options out there for them. I think the Bill Oram report, like that's a real thing. Bill Oram reported that the Lakers would rather wait until the offseason because then they could deal their 2027 first and a 2029 first with Westbrook. So I think for the Lakers, I mean, I take this as, okay, we're just going to explore the buyout market. You know, might get Schroeder, Paul Millsap potentially if he hits the buyout market. And, you know,
congrats.
Congrats. Like, you know, this year's disastrous, but I think they're thinking we'll re-enter the offseason, try to flip Westbrook out elsewhere, do everything we can to recruit Damian Lillard, Bradley Beal, whoever it might be. That's the logic there. Will it happen? Probably not.
I just don't think,
you never know.
I think they're going into a gunfight with like a couple knives with that. If your offer is like, hey, we're in a superstar hunt. Here's Russell Westbrook, Taylor Horton Tucker, and 2 first rounders 5 and 7 years from now. I'm pretty sure there's 5 teams that can top that, right? So what you end up doing is you have to roll the dice on somebody else's semi-problem.
Also, it only makes sense if you're able to make the credible threat that in the offseason, I can make cap space to sign this person outright, right? That's what Philadelphia was saying to Brooklyn, like, oh, we don't have to do this. We can wait till the offseason. We can completely just take a blowtorch to our postseason hopes this year and just wait for James this summer and you'll get nothing for him, et cetera, et cetera. If you can't make that credible, you know, threat to a team, then it's going to be tough for you to acquire a superstar that way.
Kyle, is it fair to say maybe the Lakers just look at this and go, we won a title. We traded all those picks to win another title. We have LeBron and AD. It's not going to work out this year. It happens. We'll just wait till the summer. It's okay. It's okay. I personally don't think they're wired that way, and there's too many expectations and too many Laker fans. But that's really where they should be mentally. Now, will they get there? I don't know, but that's where they should be, right?
I mean, this is scary because once you get in that 35, I mean, I think I heard maybe it was Perk on TV say this is a prime year for LeBron. I mean, this is a like LeBron's
He's
cycle
past his prime.
as we've seen is different. He still does incredible stuff, but this 35 to 40 range, I mean, if you're talking about punting another year of that, that makes me feel like they are not going to kick back. They may not have a choice. I think what you said was maybe you take on the burden of someone else and you assume, and Woz and I were talking about the hubris that some teams can have and thinking that they can fix a player the way somebody that's dating somebody be like, I could fix them. Doing that with Westbrook got them into this situation. And it's just, this is the way it works with LeBron. He comes in and he just sort of, he uses up all your resources and you try to get the most out of it. But in terms of like the clock ticking and like whether or not they're going to be comfortable enough to sit back and say, well, we tried this, you know, this isn't going to work this year. I have a hard time seeing them do that just because I think the clock is ticking so loud for LeBron at this point.
You know what?
I disagree. I disagree there, guys. I don't think the clock's ticking loudly at all with LeBron. This past month, he's averaging 30 points per game, 9 rebounds, 6 assists, playing center for the Lakers. LeBron James has always been a guy who does whatever his team needs, whether it's becoming a playmaker, becoming the go-to scorer, defending whoever it needs to be in certain playoff series. But for the past month without AD, with Russ sucking, LeBron has played center for this team. And like, despite him being 37 years old, and clearly he's past his athletic prime, he is a 100%, like, pull up LeBron with the Heat. Like, he is way past that level in terms of athleticism. But production-wise, LeBron has constantly adapted and figured out how to maximize who he is at this stage of his career. And I agree with Perk. Like, it is still, in terms of production, a prime year for LeBron James. Athleticism, no, but production, LeBron is still a championship player, and it's a wasteful year that he's not going to be able to compete for a championship unless Russ somehow figures things out.
The problem, though, is physically he can't do it night after night, week after week like he used to. And we saw, like, they had to really put some miles on him to try to keep the team somewhere near the 7th, 8th seed. And he's playing center and he's doing all this stuff. And he played really well for a couple weeks. And then all of a sudden, you know, his knees went on him. And now he's playing hurt. And this is what happens with older players. We saw it with Kobe. We saw it with Jordan. And, you know, you don't want to be in a situation where you're putting crazy miles on him when you're going to be a 9 seed.
By the way, in 2012 version of LeBron, or my favorite version of LeBron, 2009 version when they lost to the Magic.
I love that. I love that version was.
On this team, they're a 3 seed. They're a 3 seed. They're a 2 seed. He's doing everything every single night, and he's not even breaking a sweat doing it with this team, like with this level of AD, with Westbrook doing it. Because again, we saw it happen. We saw it happen with Ira Newell. We saw it happen with Boobie Gibson. We saw it happen over and over. Washed up Ben Wallace, Wally Zerbiak. We constantly saw this happening, right? Andy Varejao, right? But now he just can't carry that level of burden night in and night out and just kill people every day. Although he's still very good to great. You know, when he can get to that level, he can't carry teams anymore.
I think the opponents are better too, though. Like, isn't the league deeper and better now as well than like those Cavs, LeBron James teams? I mean, like the league is just so deep at this point. We were talking about the play-in in the earlier version of the East. Like, it's loaded with stars.
I can't believe you're disrespecting the Ubuntu Celtics like that. Wow.
No, but, honestly, that's an important point. And it's something I think about a lot because I'm always trying to compare the eras and which era had more talent, when was it easier and harder to win, things like that. And there was a time not that long ago, probably in the 13-14 range, where if you had LeBron and Anthony Davis, even at the points of their career they are now, it didn't really matter who the other guys on the team were. They were probably going to win 55 games.
Yeah.
And now it's like the league's fucking deep. Kyle, we did in part 2, we talked about how crazy these playoffs are going to be, where you have the Celtics might be the 8th seed. Brooklyn might be a 9 or a 10 seed in the play-in thing. And it's like, whatever seed you're in round 1, you're going to be playing somebody who has really good players in their team. You could be playing the Celtics that has Tatum, who, you know, is starting in the All-Star game. You could be playing Miami, who has all of these dudes who have been in big games, on and on down the line. I'm with KOC. I think the talent thing, and there's a couple reasons for it. It's just like we've gotten really lucky with the last few drafts and guys hitting their prime, but also like guys being able to play longer. And like fucking Chris Paul still being good when he was in the 2005 draft is inconceivable. LeBron was in the 2003 draft, you know? And so you have like these almost like 3 generations of players. And I don't think you can get by with just the 2 guys anymore. You need more.
Some of this too is LeBron's own doing, because he kicked off the era of which, you know, whether or not it would have happened anyway, it probably would have had all across basketball. I think the player empowerment thing has just rippled out with the transfer portal, whole other conversation. But I mean, now he's having to basically, you know, you create the thing you dread. Basically, he's having to beat these teams that are a result of players being empowered and they're teaming up and joining up. But then also beyond that, like you were saying, Bill, like the talent, I was making this argument to Charks the other day that like, the NBA is just ultra talented because it's almost like an iPhone where it's like every time the new one comes out, it's twice as good as the one before. It's just like we have so many good players. And if you like just go back through the past 4 drafts, like you were saying, like just so many good players are entering the league every year, which, you know, 2 sides to that. It makes it more incredible that LeBron has had the longevity that he's had. But I think that on the age thing, yeah, it's like, I know this. It's just like you're less likely to sustain a big hit, and when it's over, it's over. Whereas like when he can do
especially
a whole lot.
The knees too. The knees. You just have so many jumps in your knees, and I don't care how big your crowd chamber is in your house or whatever else you have going. It's like a car. You can get a car at 200,000 miles, maybe.
But what if you're on that TB12, Bill? You might be able to get a couple more jumps out of it if you're on that TB12.
That's a good example, though. He's not able to do that unless they change all the rules in favor of the quarterbacks, right? There would have been too many hits, and he just wouldn't have been played at 44. I think the NBA league, is more physical than it's been in a few years. I watched these games, like the hit John Moran took the other night from Marcus Morris. It seems like the league has moved away from finesse and it's even more intense. And maybe social media is a piece of that because you can't do what Harden did in Sacramento last week. If you do the 4-point game where you don't play defense, you're going to get raked over the coals for 2 days. You can't hide in the NBA like you used to. The guys in the 80s could just not play for a week, not give a shit. So